What seems to be up?
Are you tired all the time? Do you have chronic health problems you can't resolve with medications? Natural medicine has been around for thousands of years. Find out what it can do for you next on Living Smart. Hello, I'm Patricia Gras. Welcome to Living Smart, the show designed to help you get the most out of life. Do you feel something is wrong with you, but you can't find out why? Are you tired all the time? Our guest today will have some answers. Naturopath Jamey Summerfield likes healing her patients naturally. Today, she'll share her vast knowledge of adrenal fatigue and proper nutrition.
I must have been 16 when I purchased my first horse for $150. And how I bought him and how I cared for him was I worked at the stable. It was so natural for me. And I find him to be noble and willing to come up and communicate with you. And they speak, I think, through their eyes.
Jamey Summerfield still has a passion for horses and what she does for a living.
They can be of service, so much like I want to be of service. Congratulations is in order. I got your blood work back the other day.
She's a certified traditional naturopath, which seeks to treat disease and improve health by assisting the body's innate capacity to recover from illness and injury.
The good news is you've lost about right at 50 points on your total cholesterol in the last 1 month. So have you noticed?
Judy came for the same reason most clients flock to Jamey Summerfield.
I was tired all the time. I was a flight attendant, and I would sometimes fly all-nighters for a couple of months at a time. And when you do that, your blood sugar would get low, but instead of eating correct food, you would eat the refined foods, which would bring your blood sugar up immediately, but then started corroding your body. So I had reached a point where I had candida all the time and was tired all the time.
Today, Judy will get supplements, some body work, counseling, and some useful information.
Look out the window.
Besides being a certified traditional naturopath, she's also a master herbalist and a medical massage therapist.
I became a naturopath because there's more technical information having to do with being a naturopath. This right here goes up into the jaw. I could touch a person legally with my massage licenses, so I could go anywhere from body work of some sort with a person to interpreting and reading blood work to working with a person with either food, nutrition, weight loss, weight gain, health on any issue, and support either them or support them with a medical doctor.
Jamey Summerfield considers herself a perpetual student.
I will always be a student. If I don't take a class, I feel like I'm really missing something.
So besides practicing naturopathy, she's also a nurse, a paramedic, a licensed nutritionist, and a chemical engineer. Traditional naturopaths study 4 years of graduate work. Critics say most naturopathic treatments have not been tested for safety and efficacy, utilizing scientific studies or clinical trials. But Summerfield believes the body's much wiser than we give it credit for.
My belief is that, as a naturopath, is that natural is what will bring you back to who you were before the system started breaking down.
As an only child, Summerfield spent a lot of time sick and alone, but this helped her appreciate all things natural.
I spent most of my time out of school on a bicycle, and I would just ride all over everywhere as much as I could to get out in nature, to find trails like these trails right here.
Like most Americans in the city, as she grew up, she began to suffer the consequences of urban life.
When I was 27, I remember just being so tired one day, I threw something down on the table and said, that's it. I'm going to fix this. I'm tired of being sick. And I stopped eating anything that I knew had sugar in it. I stopped eating anything that I knew had wheat in it. and I stopped drinking milk.
She got her health back and a burning desire to share her knowledge. Today she runs 2 practices, one in Houston and one in Brenham. Her business partner in Brenham was once a health food store owner. To her surprise, she found not all vitamins and supplements are created equal.
She taught me a lot of the products. Okay, can we get rid of this? Your store would do better without this. And I took a little bit of heat from the community for not selling certain products. But I was okay with that because I wanted it to be about the truth.
Summerfield motivated her to become a naturopath.
I've been working with this guy for about 6 months now.
They often spend time discussing their cases.
Yeah, see Cassie's file?
With my health history, being a cancer survivor, I'm missing a few vital parts.
And consult each other on their own health problems.
See if it's an adrenal. So this is the adrenal adaptogen.
Today, Summerfield performs one of the most common tests she uses on her clients.
Muscle testing is kind of a layman's term to getting in touch with your higher self or your part of God, if you will. And you do really, really well with this liquid B for max stress here. I'm thinking food, supplements, and lifestyle change with the help of herbs and things like that is the basic fundamental principles of naturopathy.
Oh, look, we have company.
And keeping yourself as close to nature as possible.
Some of the life lessons that Jamey has taught me, the biggest one perhaps is to keep it real.
As real and honest as nature itself. Jamey Summerfield, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you.
Thank you. What an honor to be here with you today.
You've shared with me that the chief complaint that you get from your patients is fatigue. Why do you think that is?
Well, Patty, I think that there's not an easy answer for that. I think part of that is the adrenals are overlooked, our stress is too high, and the food quality just isn't what it used to be.
Mm-hmm. Now, you talk about food quality. What is going on with our food supply right now that most Americans know little about?
A few things. One is the genetic engineering of our seeds and the taking of the multiple types of crops and corns and things that we've had in our history and bring them down to a monoculture. So only like one species of chicken, one species of turkey, one species of corn.
How is that bad for us?
It seems to be in the literature right now that's out. That seems to be that we're looking for we're losing the ability to sustain and have the ability of the plants to keep their own genetic integrity when we've brought in the chemical seeds.
Aspect of it. But so the nutrition is not there that the plants used to provide.
There's nothing put into the soil anymore except chemicals.
You mentioned corn, and I understand that we have corn syrup in almost everything. Corn syrup has almost taken over sugar to sweeten things. Tell me what impact that has on our bodies.
High fructose corn syrup by itself is okay. It's just that it's in everything. And corn, you know, Patty, is how the farmer fattens up their animals to sell them.
Mm-hmm. And is that bad for us?
Well, it's part of the solution of why America is so fat today.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, that led to my next question. Why are we so obese in America?
I believe that we have a lot of chemicals added to our food. We have a lot of inexpensive things added to our food, like the corn syrup. It makes it sweet. We actually become used to it, and then we want it in the case of our children.
And corn syrup is not something that we had in our food supply until, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? And why was it put in everything?
I believe it was put in there to make things sweet and to save money. Because of the what's happened to our sugar, we don't really grow a lot of cane sugar. We're assuming that if a label says sugar, that it's what we thought of as that nice, tall, bushy plant. And in reality, about 60% of our sugar, as it's labeled today, is beet sugar.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. How is food overly processed in America today?
I think it's just picked or processed or slaughtered and run through so many processes and bleached and dyed and infused with nitrogen and colors added to it to make it where we like the looks of it. Spray painted in the case of a lot of fruits and vegetables.
You've mentioned two very important books about what's going on in our food supply. One is by Jane Goodall called Harvest for Hope, and the other book is called Your Right to Know by the Center for Food Safety. What have you learned that's very important about our food supply from these books?
I think in today's show, anything that there's a question by anybody, if people went to either of those books, they would understand that I'm saying almost nothing in comparison to what we already know about our safety, and the huge percentage of food, say like 80 to 90% of all corn is genetically modified. It's Roundup Ready, or what they call BT corn.
What's BT stand for?
BT, Bacillus thuringiensis.
Okay, some chemical
which is
terms.
the way that the organic farmer has of utilizing to save themselves from using pesticides. But it's now infused genetically ahead of time into such as corn, and now the corn makes that, and all the animals are becoming immune to it. So they're actually taking away the ability for the organic farmer to stay and sustain themselves, and making it where hopefully it's not going to happen, but one day the organic farmer has to use pesticides, making it not organic anymore.
What else did you learn from, especially from our Right to Know book?
The Right to Know is a group in Washington, D.C., who considers themselves the watchdog for genetic engineered. They're the people that tell us about the large corporation and who owns which company. A lot of the health food store brands have already been purchased by large drug companies and companies like Monsanto and Hershey's chocolate company. There are things that we just don't realize. And I think if we become involved and concerned about our food and who's owning which companies, I believe we can make a change and be healthy again and have our energy back.
Genetically modified foods, what does it mean, and how will that affect our food supply? It's already affecting our food supply, but why is that good or bad for us?
Well, there's controversy on both sides. My opinion as following the natural route is organic, or biofood as it's called in Europe, basically is what we raised when I was young. Mm-hmm. It's just food that was grown, crops were rotated, crops are not rotated any longer. So you're not getting the nutrients from the soil. So what they've done now is agriculture has come along with the very large conglomerate corporations and have thousands of acres growing one grain or one plant.
Why is that? I mean, what is the advantage for them to just grow one seed or one plant? Why?
They're looking for, in industry, they're looking for the easiest, best, the plant or animal that will grow the fastest, and they're looking for ways to make that happen because our world is getting bigger and we need more food.
But how does that affect us in the long run, genetically modified foods? Do we know?
There is no proof at all. On both sides, there's lots of controversy. Again, I will refer to those two books as information. But people are tired today, Patty, and they don't know why. They're not sleeping, and they get up tired, and they're more and more tired. And they're dependent on drugs or sodas in the morning or
let's talk about sodas.
Energy-infused drinks.
I understand that people are drinking more and more energy drinks. What's going on with that? How does that affect you in the long run to have these energy drinks on a constant basis?
Well, with the body, you've got to remember the body has its own wisdom, and it sort of knows what normal is, and it knows what normal is for it. And as you put in caffeines and other chemicals that are considered uppers to kick the system into going, the body actually is getting tired by you giving it things like the old advertise on TV that used to be, this is your brain on some sort of drug, and it would show fried eggs.
Fried eggs, yeah.
And it's a lot like that, and we're actually living that way and have no knowledge.
That we're living out. So we're not getting enough sleep, and we're drinking the wrong stuff.
And we're not sleeping well.
Okay. Now, let's talk about water. Very basic. We're supposed to drink 8 glasses of water a day. But there's a lot of confusion now. I remember when I was growing up, you didn't see a lot of plastic bottled water, and now you do. You see it a lot. What kind of water should we be drinking, and sometimes why should we put lemon in it?
Okay, I like the question on lemon water. I tried to have everybody do that, or at least inform them, that that's a real old-timey way of just maintaining your health. Kind of gets the body going. That little bit of lemon in the water in the morning helps jumpstart that liver. And after all, that's what the drinks and the heavy double latte coffee drinks are also trying to do.
But is that good for you?
I think that the lemon water is a really good, I think it's a natural choice, and the body does not see it as something outside of itself that's a chemical to make it do something.
As opposed to caffeine. What about, you mentioned also the fact that the best drinking water is spring water as opposed to the tap water, or the most bottled waters are not spring water. Why? Why is that better?
I think that the more you keep things natural and unprocessed, the more the body recognizes it as a historical marker that we've got genes that remember water. We don't have genes and cells that remember water with fluoride in it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So spring water is probably the best kind of water you can drink.
Spring water is what's in the White House. That is considered the best that we have.
Okay. Now, you talked about crop rotation and the fact that we're not rotating our crops, and that does not provide the same nutrition that it would if we were rotating crops. Is that related to nitrogen? What's happened to nitrogen in our food supply?
Well, the chemical fertilizers, Patty, put in nitrogen, and that makes you have a nice, fast-growing green plant. Trouble is, it doesn't give you any zinc or iron or any other of the B vitamins or anything else, because the soil is depleted. There's nothing that's feeding the soil to feed the seed, to feed the plant, than to feed the fruit that comes off that plant, or that the cow eats.
Now, are organic farmers the ones that are not using the nitrogen? And what's so controversial about organic farming today?
I don't know why it's an issue, frankly. Organic, as we're calling it, is just the way it's always been. It is nothing different. They rotate crops, they plow old plants under, they bring in like manures, and this is just the way it's always been done, without chemical pesticides, without chemical fertilizers.
Mm-hmm. Supplements, we talked a little bit about supplements or vitamins. Tell me the difference between vitamins and supplements, and how do we know which ones are good and which ones are not good? Because no one's regulating them right now.
Right. And the United States government is doing that with the assistance of some of the legislation coming out of Europe. In America, we have vitamins that are made from coal tar. They're at your drugstore. They're in your health food store. How do you know the difference between that and something a little bit more natural, in my opinion? The natural almost always across the bottom somewhere says food supplement.
It has to have the word food in it.
If it doesn't say food supplement on the label, it isn't. And if it doesn't say organic on it, it's not.
But as someone who's shopping for brands or whatever, how do you choose? I mean, how do you know which ones are going to work for you and which ones don't?
Brand-wise...
we can't mention brands,
right.
But I mean,
brand-wise, for me, I'm pretty trustful in something that says that it's a food supplement. Okay. I will choose that. And if it's got a high rating of B vitamins, then that tells me it's synthetic, because the body can't take in more than 3 milligrams of vitamin B1 in any 24-hour cycle.
Okay.
So if it says B100, I'm an American, of course, more is better.
Not
But
necessarily,
the
because
body will never be able to use almost any of it, and then it becomes expensive urine.
right, and one of the things I learned from you was absorption. A lot of times we take a lot of supplements, a lot of vitamins, but our bodies may not be capable of absorbing that.
Yeah, there's a controversy even in the natural field about that. Like, how many pills is too much? Some people take in like 100 pills a day. Personally, I think that finding what your body needs, not what you just read in some article and boy, it sounded good, you ought to go buy it, but finding what does your body need, what is it you're not eating. Like my daughter, I give her a green capsule every day because she doesn't eat very many greens. So
Okay,
that would be an example of my point of view.
The ideal would be for us to eat organic food. Then we wouldn't be taking supplements, correct? We would
In
have
my
to.
opinion, I shouldn't have a job.
Right.
In my opinion, I wouldn't have a job. I'd be free to go do something else with my life if we just had viable, vitamin-enriched
Food, organic food.
Fruit that was just growing, honey, get it from the ground.
Right. Now, you said in the story that you stopped eating anything with sugar in it. You stopped eating anything with wheat in it. And you said, what's the other one? Dairy.
Yeah.
Not necessarily
No
dairy,
milk.
but no milk. And why? Why is that? Why those three things?
Well, for me, I was really sick. And I was sick all the time. I caught everything. If everybody else got the flu twice, I got it 4 times. Mm-hmm. So somewhere I just got up one morning and it was just time to do something about it. And I don't know where I even came up with those were the things to take out, but that's what I did.
You don't know why you took out milk? I mean, some people say milk is good for you, some say it's not, because milk supposedly is good for calcium. What's the story on that?
Well, for me, milk caused, and in my practice I find it creates mucus.
Okay.
So it's something that if you take in, some people seem to handle it. Most people actually don't seem to. They seem to be pretty phlegmy.
Now, is it because we're not drinking organic milk for the most part?
I don't think so. I think milk, Patty, we're the only living animal on the entire planet that drinks milk after we're babies. And I would question the wisdom in that. And maybe just moderation and not white mustache kinds of huge amounts.
What about calcium, though? We hear you have to have milk because you need calcium.
Yes, I think when milk is made into cheeses usually have bacteria and things that are in them, and so it helps process it. We can digest it better. It also, when it's fermented, like in the yogurts, it's much easier for us to handle and digest as calcium. And the vegetable that has the most calcium is like bok choy in Chinese food, broccoli. So the green leafy vegetables have a pretty high dose of calcium.
Okay, now what is the best possible diet and lifestyle we should start living so we don't get sick, we don't get fat, and we have energy?
What I tell my clients is I help them pick their diet depending on what their genealogy is. I do a lot with the blood typing diet. Not that I think that it's the answer, but it's a place to start. And it's a solid place to start.
Give me examples of that. Like I'm a type O. I'm supposed to be eating what? Meat?
O's have a long genetic history on the planet of eating meat and vegetables and fruit and not grain.
Okay.
Because the blood type came before grain on the planet.
What about what other type? Type A?
An A is in the theory here on the blood typing is a branch off or a split off of the O blood type. Therefore, it's a little bit more gregarious. It comes out of England, and so they're more likely to do well with grains.
Okay, and then you have type B.
The B is a standalone blood type, seeming to come from around the Indus Valley in India. Mm-hmm. And they can eat meat, they can eat dairy, they can actually eat a little bit of everything.
Okay. Now, what type are you?
I'm an AB. I'm the new guy on the block.
So what are you supposed to eat?
I have the smallest diet of everybody, but I can eat a little bit of everything.
Well, that's not
but
fair.
There's some things like I don't do real well eating chicken, for instance.
Okay, so there's certain things that we should know about that we're going to do better if we eat certain things according to our blood type. How do you know you're living smart?
I know I'm living smart because I have more energy than any of my clients, no matter how young they are when they come in. I sleep really well, and I get up in the morning feeling great.
Do you exercise?
I do not.
You don't exercise. That's not right. We can't tell them that. And for more, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
And for more information on this topic, go to our website, houstonpbs.org. And there you will also find a complete resource list on each guest. You can also email us or call us with your comments at 713-743-8513. And that's our show for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember to live smart and healthy and eat right. I'm Patricia Gras. Have a healthy and a great week.
For a transcript of this program, send $6.95 to the address on your screen. Please include the name of the guest.